8 years. That is the real length of a military commitment, even when the recruiter says 4. The contract you sign at the processing station ties up almost a decade of your life, and most people walking in have no idea. There is one sentence buried in that enlistment form that quietly erases every promise made to you out loud, and nobody points it out before you sign.
Walk in informed, and you change the whole conversation. This is Professor Erica. A recruiter does a real and important job, but the smart questions are what protect you.
Today we continue with how to sit across from a military recruiter as an informed buyer, because most people walk in nervous and nodding along. The recruiter is not your enemy here, yet the paperwork is unforgiving.
Hey everyone, Michael here. The very first question settles half the arguments later, so ask it before anything else. Is this exact job guaranteed in writing?
This is Beth. Then ask the one that decides your next decade. How long is the contract? And what is the total 8-year service obligation underneath it?
Next, pin down the money, because vague answers here cost people thousands. What is the bonus exactly? When does it get paid? And what action on your part voids it?
Ask what rank you start at too, because coming in one pay grade higher is real money from day one. Your college credits or junior ROTC time can bump you up, but only if you ask.
But here's the question almost nobody asks, so it is the one that burns people. What happens if I don't qualify for the job or school I want? You need that answer before you commit, not after.
Let me lay all 6 out together, the exact list you bring into that office on your phone. Start with the guaranteed job, then the obligation, then the bonus, then rank and credit, then the fallback if the job falls through, and finally the medical and ASVAB steps that decide what you even qualify for. 6 questions, and a good recruiter welcomes everyone. Erica, one question shows up under every recruiting video we post. I want you to read it out loud because it frames this whole episode.
Yes, and it is the honest one. People ask, is my recruiter lying to me, or do I just not know what to ask? That tension is exactly what we are untangling.
That is exactly the frame, and the honest answer is mostly the second one. So let us start where the surprises hide. The question that decides your next decade is the real length of the contract.
4 years means 4 years, right? Not quite. This is the single biggest surprise people find buried in their own contract, and it changes how you plan your 20s. Here is the trade most recruits never see coming. Every initial enlistment runs 2 clocks at the same time, and only one of them is the number a recruiter leads with.
Good setup, Beth. Active duty is the clock you picture. It is the 2 to 6 years you serve full-time, in uniform, and getting paid to do the job.
But underneath it runs the total military service obligation, and for a first enlistment that is 8 years from the day you enter. The Department of Defense sets that.
So if you sign 4 years of active duty, the other 4 do not vanish. They go to the individual ready reserve.
Hold on, so people can get called back after they think they are out?
That is exactly the catch. In the reserve, you get no pay and no drill weekends, but you can still be recalled. It is real, even if it is rare in practice.
Michael, here are the 8 years with both clocks side by side, because the picture lands harder than the words. 4 years of active duty come first, then 4 more sit in the reserve, finishing out the 8. So the smart move is simple. On your own contract, find the active number and the total obligation number, and make sure you can say both out loud before you sign.
Michael, you had the question on everyone's mind a second ago, the one that decides whether any of this is even guaranteed. Put it to the panel.
Right, here it is. If a recruiter promises me a job out loud, is that promise actually binding once I sign the contract?
Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it.
Here is the one rule that protects you more than every other tip combined. If it is not written in the contract, it does not exist. Verbal promises carry 0 legal weight.
Beth is right, and it is not a rumor or a hot take. It is printed on the form itself. Section C of the enlistment document says the written agreements are all the promises the government made you.
The exact line says anything else anyone has promised you is not valid and will not be honored. So a handshake guarantee at the desk is worth exactly nothing once you sign.
Which is why you read every line at the processing station before you sign slowly, even if there is a line behind you. This is the most important document you have signed in your life.
I want to bring in someone who knows the enlistment process cold, because the money side trips up the most people. Let me get Coach Marlowe on the line.
Happy to be on. The bonus is where I see the most heartbreak, honestly. People hear a big number at the desk and assume it lands in their account the day they ship. It almost never works that way. A bonus is typically paid after you finish your initial training, and it is often spread across the contract, not handed over in one lump sum.
So what actually makes someone lose a bonus they were counting on?
Switching out of the job the bonus was tied to is the big one. If you leave that specialty or lose a qualification the job required, the military can claw back the unearned share.
Wait, so they can take money back that already hit my account?
The proportional share, yes, for the time you did not serve. That is why I tell every recruit the same thing. If a bonus matters to you, make sure the amount and the conditions are written into the annex, not just spoken. Thanks for having me on. The recruit who reads the annex never gets the heartbreak call. That is the whole game.
That lines up with the official guidance exactly. Recruiters cannot authorize a bonus on their own. Every incentive has to be written into the contract to be valid. Thank you, Coach.
So picture specialist Reyes, a 17-year-old who was promised $8,000 verbally and never saw it in the annex. He shipped, switched jobs, and the number on paper was 0. Get it written down.
You can say no. At any point before you sign, you can decline and walk out the door, and that single piece of power is the one recruits forget they hold.
So let us name the warning signs, because most recruiters are straight, but the pressure plays are easy to spot once you know the shape of them.
Red flag number 1. Being rushed to sign today like the offer evaporates at midnight. A real opportunity survives you sleeping on it.
Red flag number 2, and it is the costly one. Just sign open and you can pick your job later. That means you sign away the guarantee and take whatever they need filled.
And the fix is calm and boring. You never have to sign the day you are offered. Take the contract home and read it. Ask your questions, then come back.
There is also a built-in safety net most people do not use on purpose. The Delayed Entry Program, the Future Soldier program in the Army, lets you lock your terms now and ship to basic later.
And here's the part recruiters rarely volunteer. While you are in that program, before you ever enter active duty, you can change your mind and request release. You are separated with no discharge on a service record.
Now the honest part, because the service is genuinely not for everyone. If you are college-bound, an ROTC scholarship can pay tuition, but it carries its own service obligation after graduation.
And waiting a year to enlist a little older, with a higher ASVAB score and a clearer plan, is a real path too. The downside of enlisting at 18 is the doors you close before you have looked through them.
Let me put the two paths side by side, the informed walk-in against the rush signature, because the difference is your whole next decade.
Here is the verdict, Kai. The military can be the best decision of your life or a trap you signed yourself into, and the only difference is whether you read first and ask questions. Carry this home. The written contract is the only promise that exists.
Quick recap before we close. The contract is 8 years even when it says 4. Only what is written counts, and you can always walk away before you sign.
Here is what you walk away with tonight. Build your 6-question list and save it. The day you sit down with a recruiter, you are the calmest and best prepared person in that office.
Next time we get into the part recruits feel blindsided by, what basic training actually does to your first 90 days, and the one habit that makes it survivable.
If this gave you questions you did not know to ask, subscribe, and like because we keep this whole series current and honest for the next person deciding. Here is the one only you can answer. If you have enlisted, what is the single question you wish you had asked your recruiter before you signed?
If one section applies to you, that section is the homework.
Work smarter, then work harder. See you next time.
That was an A-, Kai. The minus is just because I cannot help myself. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.